The gates of Royal Lodge stand silent in the October dusk, a home once shared by a married couple, now a curious monument to a bond that refuses to break. Why does Sarah Ferguson remain bound to Prince Andrew decades after divorce, scandal, and public humiliation should have severed the link? Is it loyalty, love, or something altogether different? Before we dive in, there's something I need to share with you. Over the past few days, thousands have watched these stories unfold, but most haven't subscribed. If you're one of them, I invite you now to join us. Subscribe to Crownverse so you never miss the next chapter in this unfolding royal history. It begins with the image. A wedding in 1986 that seemed to promise everything. Sarah Ferguson, red-haired, vibrant, married at Westminster Abbey to Prince Andrew, younger son of the Queen. The Duke and Duchess of York. Fairy tale royal couple. The cameras looked on, the guests applauded, and the world believed in the romance. Sarah herself said later, "I was totally and utterly in love." But by the early 1990s, the facade cracks. Long months when Andrew is abroad on naval duty. Sarah left behind, restless, sometimes reckless. Financial troubles mount, a lavish lifestyle, a relentless press. In 1992, the marriage splits. In 1996, the divorce is final. Yet here is the twist. Despite divorce, despite separation, the two continue to live together at Royal Lodge. They continue to raise their daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, under the same roof. They describe themselves as the happiest divorced couple I know. What drives that continued proximity? On the surface, affection. Sarah repeatedly says she would marry Andrew again, 100%. She describes him as the finest man in my life. But beneath that public narrative lie deeper questions. What role does the royal connection play? What value lies in a shared address, a shared bond, when all others have walked away? We know the facts. Sarah Ferguson marries Andrew in 1986. They have 2 daughters. She divorces in 1996. Their relationship evolves. They stay in adjoining wings. They still act, on occasion, as a unit. Sarah endures public scandal, debts, a tawdry photograph, a cash-for-access sting in 2010. She also faces fallout from associations with convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein, including email revelations in 2011 that described Epstein as a supreme friend. Many charities cut ties in 2025 when those messages resurfaced. Meanwhile, Andrew's reputation collapses under the weight of sexual assault allegations by Virginia Giuffre, settlement, investigations, and the decision in October 2025 to give up his Duke of York title. The story of Sarah Ferguson's motives is intertwined with these foundations. One hypothesis, continuing connection offers stability to Sarah. Financially, she has faced ruin. A link to royalty, even a weakened one, carries social value, property rights, housing support, and ongoing relevance. A second hypothesis, loyalty. Sarah repeatedly asserts love and devotion. She stands by Andrew now, publicly and privately. She lives with him. She accepts the title relinquishment, yet remains. A third hypothesis, mutual convenience. Their relationship, even as ex-spouses, serves both. Andrew keeps a familiar domestic anchor. Sarah retains proximity to the royal story. We cannot verify which motive dominates. What is documented, that Sarah says she loved Andrew, that she admits financial struggles, that she remains in residence with him. What is not documented, an explicit statement by Sarah or the royal household that she stayed for ambition or strategy. Those remain inferred by commentators. Consider this moment. October 2025. Andrew announces he will stop using the Duke of York title. Sarah agrees to cease using Duchess of York. The move signals change. It signals distancing. But Sarah continues living at Royal Lodge, still publicly linked to Andrew. The palace may see this as damage control. It may see her presence as liability. Yet she remains. What does that tell us? The answer lies in the overlap of institution and identity. Royalty is not simply status, it is brand, legacy, influence. Sarah was part of that brand. She married into the royal family. She bore 2 daughters who are still royals. She never fully left. The connections run deep. Property leases, patronages, friendships, social networks. To exit fully may cost more than emotion. It may cost identity. Let's examine some of the details. Sarah's interview in 2021. "I would do it all over again, 100%. That public affirmation of love is significant. It shows devotion. It signals that her motive may still be affection, not calculation. But ask, she lived in a world of privilege that vanished after divorce. She lost her style HRH. She lost many royal duties. She endured massive debt. In 2010, she was filmed taking cash for access to Andrew. In 2025, she lost her Duchess title usage after the email scandal. That's a long slide. In that decline, what did a continued link provide? One answer: relevance. Relevance matters. In the modern media age, high-profile ex-royals often fade into obscurity. But Sarah did not. She stayed visible, and visibly attached to royalty. She still held royal patronages. For decades, she patronized the Teenage Cancer Trust and others. She still occupied Royal Lodge. She still appeared at events. And she continues to attract coverage. That link preserves her platform. The theory of mutual convenience gains strength when you look at the living arrangements. They divorced, yet continued to share a residence on the Royal Windsor estate. They co-raised their daughters. They continue to present as a family unit, albeit unconventional. For Andrew, whose public life collapsed, the presence of Sarah offers domestic stability and a credible link to normality. For Sarah, Andrew offers a link to the royal institution and a base that few divorced royals retain. But what about the palace view? From the institution's perspective, Andrew and Sarah are probably an uncomfortable asset. Andrew's controversies overshadow the crown. Is Sarah part of the problem? Possibly. Yet the palace hasn't completely expelled her. It hasn't severed ties fully. Instead, it allowed the title relinquishments, but kept the status quo of their shared residence. That suggests caution. The crown may prefer containment rather than confrontation. In a sense, Sarah's presence becomes a quiet signal. She stands by the man who once stood beside the queen's younger son. She remains loyal. She wears devotion like armor. But the same action might also be a sign of strategy. She remains visible, but in low profile. She retains what remains of her role without pushing for more. Let's turn to emotional nuance. A woman who entered marriage at 26 under intense media glare, who lost anonymity the day she said "I do." A woman whose deaths, criticized in the tabloids, spelled guilt and blame. A woman who tendered a public apology. In 2012, she said accepting money from Epstein was a gigantic error of judgment. Yet she remains closely connected to the institution that once elevated her. Love may explain part of it, regret perhaps, but survival yes, reinvention maybe, and identity definitely. Today, Sarah is in her 60s, still a public figure, still associated with the royal institution. Andrew is stripped of titles, still living at Royal Lodge. The institution around them is changing. The next generation of royals, the Prince and Princess of Wales, is set to lead. The crown is slimming its exposed edges. The era of large, extended royal household is shrinking. In this environment, Sarah remains a holdover. She is legacy. She is cautionary tale. She is paradox. What does this mean for the future? One scenario, Sarah gradually steps back further. She accepts a diminished role. She moves away from Windsor and builds an independent identity.
charity, presence, voice. Another scenario, she stays as she has, quiet, loyal, visible, but behind the scenes. She becomes a symbol of continuity in chaos, a woman beside a duke who has lost his public platform, but who still holds a lease on the estate, still retains influence. Importantly, her motive matters less to the public now than the meaning of her staying. Her staying tells us about royalty, about what the institution values, about how connection to monarchy can outlast marriage, scandal, divorce. It tells us that for some, being part of that story is more important than breaking away. We may never know her full reasons. She may never declare them. She may simply say love. But the convergence of love, identity, convenience, and strategy is hard to ignore.
In the halls of Windsor, status lingers. Allegiances matter. And sometimes the marriage is just the beginning. So look again at the gates of Royal Lodge in the dusk, the couple living under one roof, raising daughters, dodging the media, enduring the headlines. A bond that defies conventional logic. A royal who once flew high, now grounded, and a duchess who remains tethered. The question is not only why she stays, but what staying costs and what it protects. In the end, the story isn't just about Sarah Ferguson or Prince Andrew. It's about the monarchy adapting, about how the institution handles its loyal insiders, its imperfect members, its missteps. It's about when marriage ends, but the machine continues. And about a woman who chose not to walk away when others did. If you enjoyed this journey into the hidden world of the Crown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us here on Crownverse, where royal history lives on.